Hello, everyone. I'm Beverly Haynes,
And I'm Randy Haynes.
and today we want to talk to you about nature's marvelous medicine chest and some of the wild common plants that are growing right here in the Rock Creek, Westbridge area that you might not recognize as being fantastic medicine. We're talking about which plants today?
Well, first of all, we got Oregon Grape. You probably have all seen this all over the place. It might
All
even be in your
over.
very own yard.
That's right. And we're also talking about marvelous mullein. And wild plants have been used for centuries, for thousands of years, for medicine, also for food, but for medicine. And we've kind of lost the art of that over the years, and now we don't use these things like we used to. But I believe there's a groundswell now of people going back to those old ways, recognizing the power of these plants.
Yeah, we definitely have noticed that, haven't we? A lot of people are very
Absolutely.
interested in these talks and learning to forage and yeah.
Absolutely. And we've been excited by what we've been learning as of late. So today we want to introduce you to these two very potent plants, the Oregon grape and the mullein. So let's start with the Oregon grape. First of
First of
all,
all, pretty
it,
pokey.
it's
Watch
pretty
out for
pokey.
those.
It looks like holly, except that holly has the red berries and the Oregon grape has the purple berries. And I don't know if you can eat the holly berries, but you can certainly eat the Oregon grape berries.
Absolutely.
They're not very sweet, but
I've always loved them.
they are. They're refreshing. I think refreshing
Yeah, that's
is
a
the
good word
best
for
word.
it.
Absolutely. So, what's so fantastic about the Oregon grape?
Well, first of all, excellent blood cleanser.
Excellent blood
Hmm.
cleanser. It's kind of like the golden seal. Golden seal is really fantastic. It's potent, but it's hard to come by. And when you do come by it,
It's pricey.
it's pretty pricey. The good thing about Oregon grape, it's prolific. You will find it everywhere in this area, and
It's free.
it's free.
We love that.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Now, you will find when you get to the root of the problem, to the root of the whole thing, berberine.
That's one of the chief components in this that does the wonders that it does. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's that bright yellow compound that you're going to see in the root, in the root system of this plant, and it's got the antibacterial, antifungal properties that are going to be so amazing for your immune system, for strengthening your immune system. You know, those macrophages in your system, your white blood cells that engulf any bad things, any of those bad microorganisms, it's going to just pump those up and really strengthen your immune system, especially in this time of COVID when we need to be doing just that
Definitely. Yeah.
to stave off disease. We really can benefit from these wild medicinals.
Absolutely. And so for using this, we can use it both internally and externally, correct?
Absolutely. Externally, how?
Externally, we can use it as a salve, an ointment.
As a cream.
Cream, yeah, yeah.
Right. And then internally, how would we do that?
As a tea.
As a
Yeah, which
tea.
is super easy to make. And we'll tell you in a minute how to make that.
How to do that,
Yeah.
yes. Antimicrobial, antibiotic. If you've got intestinal infections, like if you're suffering from diarrhea, from salmonella poisoning, from amoebic dysentery, any of those types of abdominal, intestinal type of infections, drinking the tea made from Oregon grape is going to be amazing. It's going to help to get rid of those things because it's that blood purifier. It's going to cleanse those things out of your system. At the same time, it can stimulate your liver function. So if you're having difficulties with your liver, it can stimulate your liver function. However, there is a caveat there. um, definitely, talk to your doctor because you might be on some medications that might interfere. The two might not mix too well. So if you're having any liver damage, be really careful and speak to your doctor about it. But
Digestion, yeah, using it for stomach ulcers.
that's
Yeah.
right. For
Mhm.
reflux, if you're suffering from GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, drinking some of this tea. If you're having a stomach upset, urinary tract infections, so many things that this is going to be good for. Laxative.
Laxative. Who knew?
It's
There
going to
you
cleanse
go.
your bowels. And back in the day, it used to be used for treating syphilis.
Interesting. Very
So
interesting.
lots of things going on with this simple wild plant. Now, how can we use these? How can we use it?
Well, we covered the teas, yeah, maybe using it as a tea for
Right,
internally. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so
Fresh or dried, we
Yeah.
can use that. So if we're using it fresh,
yeah, just take the leaves and yeah, put it in some boiling water. Yeah, let it steep for 15 minutes or so and use it.
absolutely. Or you can eat the leaves.
Yeah. I mean, I've ever since I was a kid, I used to like the kind of lemon flavor. I used to like eating the young leaves,
Uh-huh.
not the old leaves like this. You'd be poking your tongue with these.
A
But
little bit pokey, but yes, you can in the springtime when
Yeah.
the fresh young leaves are there. You can put those in your salad. You can steam them, that type of thing. When they're older, not so much. You can boil them for tea, but
Mhm.
using the roots and the bark.
Yeah, the bark of especially the big stems.
Yes.
You'll see some big stems on the bigger plants, and yeah, just peel
Exactly.
off that bark and dry it, and you can have it for the winter, or for using it immediately, of course.
True. And that's the good thing, what you said about storing these things. You want to dry it for using it during the winter. That's when it's going to be really good, the root in the autumn,
Mhm.
harvesting the
Yeah,
root,
True. Yeah.
because that's when the plant is kind of powering down and putting all of its energies back into the root system for the winter. So the autumn time, fall, is perfect for harvesting those roots.
Okay, so for the tea, for using the bark or the root, what's the recipe that we use for that?
Well, about 2 to 3 tablespoons of that root or that bark in about 2 cups of water, and boiling that, bringing it to a boil, all of it together, and then letting it simmer or letting it steep for about 15 minutes to get all that goodness. And then you're going to drink it. It might be a little bit on the bitter side.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, it tastes like medicine, but then you know it's doing some good stuff.
Exactly. When things are bitter, you know they're good for your system. But you might want to add a little bit of honey, maybe some lemon to sweeten it up a little bit, and then it'll be much more palatable.
Okay, so
All right.
there are a few cautions with this.
Yes, there
First of
are.
all, how much tea should we be using in a day?
Well, you know what? About half a cup, 2 to 3 times a day. There's an old adage, everything in moderation. Well, first of all, no, only good things in moderation. And here we have half a cup, being very moderate with this because this is quite powerful. So half a cup, 2 to 3 times a day. And there is a caution if you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, and again, if you have any liver damage, you want to maybe not use the Oregon grape or use it very, very, very cautiously with a practitioner's help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next on our list here, the mullein.
Toilet paper! You can use this as toilet paper because it's so nice and fuzzy, soft.
Yeah.
You know, there's
it
that
works
commercial,
marvelously.
you can feel the softness, the cushiony softness or something. But yes, if you're out camping and you've run out of TP, well, find yourself a beautiful mullein plant and they'll be easy to spot and you should be just fine.
Okay, but using it medicinally.
Medicinally. Well, back to the toilet paper thing.
Yeah.
Another name for this is velvety smoother.
Oh, interesting.
No,
Okay.
velvety soother.
Velvety
from back in the
soother.
day, yes.
Okay.
And also it has been called candle wick. Why is that? You've used it.
I have used it. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I would dry it and roll it up into kind of a yeah, string kind of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
To
then
use
you
to burn.
yes, yep, to burn. You can dip one end in oil. That's how I would do it, like a
Yeah.
lamp, and light the other end, and it just wicks up the oil.
There you
And
go.
yeah, and
So again,
makes
if
a
you're
nice
camping,
lamp. Yeah.
or if the power goes out, hey, find yourself some mullein. They used to use these back in the day when they didn't have cotton, and in that very same way that you
Yeah.
mentioned. But also, in the second year of this plant's life, it sends up its stalk for its seeds. And you can use that seedy, flowery stalk as a
As
torch.
a torch, yeah, definitely.
And I
Yeah.
think you've done that
I
before
have
as
done
well.
that as well, yeah.
He's done it all.
Yeah, you could just would like kind of dip it in pitch or in tallow, yeah, in some fat or whatever, yeah,
Right.
and burn that, or
And
yes, tar or whatever. That's what they used to use it as.
fantastic. And many cultures have used mullein over the centuries. In India, the British, the Greek, the French, so many cultures. And we need to get back to all of that today.
Absolutely.
And here's why. Because it is a strong antioxidant kind of plant. Lots of antioxidant properties, lots of inflammatory, anti-inflammatory
yeah.
compounds as well. And perhaps what it's most famous for,
For the respiratory system.
absolutely, if you're suffering from coughing, from asthma, any bronchial congestion, hoarseness, a cold, COVID.
Use this, yeah. Some tea made from this. Perfect.
Absolutely. And I would dare say you could also use this as a poultice for that as well. Mashing it, so that
I
it's
haven't used it for that. That'd be interesting. It
Yeah.
wouldn't do any harm.
exactly, mashing it up to get the liquid, get it all nice and liquidy, and then applying it as a poultice on your chest might work wonders there. But definitely the tea. Also, yeah.
And I was just going to say, also as for wound healing, as that poultice that you were just
Yes.
talking about.
Yes, absolutely. It speeds up wound healing. So in humans and animals. So that is really, really
Awesome.
fantastic. Also, it's antimicrobial. So things
So
like E.
E.
coli.
coli, Candida.
Yes, if you've got excess yeast, you want to be drinking some of the mullein tea. But there's some other
And
things.
even for earaches. Yeah.
Earaches.
Urinary tract infections.
Incredible, incredible. Hemorrhoids, everyone. Hemorrhoids, diarrhea. For hemorrhoids, you would make that tea and saturate some, a cloth, and then place it on your affected area. And it will help to bring some relief there. But something else.
Another thing, antiparasitic.
That's right.
So this thing is just, who knew?
Who
eh?
knew all these things? So roundworms, tapeworms,
Uh-huh.
drink that tea.
And get rid of those
And
things.
get rid of those things, yes. Now we can use the leaves, we can use the flowers,
Yeah,
and-
but not use the seeds.
But
So
not the
why?
seeds.
What's in the seeds?
there's a particular compound, and I think you know the word better than I do.
Rhodonone.
Rhodonone,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's the poison. You don't want to use that.
That's
I
right.
mean, yeah. So no, don't use the seeds, but every other part is perfectly
That's
good
right,
to use.
every other part. So the leaves and the flowers you can use in your creams, some oils, some salves, and the tea. We've used it fresh to make tea before,
definitely, yeah.
but you can dry it, crumble it to make your tea. And when you're drying it, that way you get to store it over the winter for as long as you want to. And it's just going to stand you in really good stead.
Awesome. Okay. So, any cautions? Well, we mentioned the seeds are toxic.
Yes.
Any other cautions?
If you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, also if you have cancer, there are tannins in the mullein, and tannins can be pro or anti-cancer. So it just really depends. So you have to be really
It's
careful.
kind of up in the air.
Kind of up in the air, yeah. Do some homework there. But otherwise, for anyone else, mullein is fantastic. The Oregon grape is fantastic. These things that we're talking about are just so amazing, and they're free for us right there in nature. It just,
Gotta love that.
gotta love that. God is so good to us, isn't he? Now,
Now, of course, we need to specify that we aren't medical practitioners, so do your research, consult with a doctor, especially if you're on medications.
Exactly. If you're on medications, you always have to be careful because these wild plants, they're very powerful and they can interact with the workings of your medication. So do your homework, do your due diligence, talk to your health practitioner, and be safe that way.
Okay.
All right.
So,
We have another presentation coming up. This was just a 15-minute kind of thing, but we've got a 2-hour presentation coming up in December, on Sunday, December 4, at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock at the Kettle Wildlife Association, also known as the Gun Range.
so what are a few things that we'll be talking about there?
Well, we'll be talking about more of these fantastic medicinals, wild natural medicinals. We'll talk about how to identify them, how to use them safely in your cooking and as medicine, and what parts of them you can use. All of that kind of thing we'll be talking about in our
Okay.
presentation
Well, that's
in
gonna be
December.
exciting.
It is. So come and join us. Again, that's Sunday, December 4, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock at the gun range on Dump Road.
Yeah, Garbage
Across
Dump
from
Road,
the
I think it's called, yeah.
across from the fairgrounds here. Now, before you leave our booth, we do have a little handout. We have a handout for this presentation, but also a smaller leaflet that gives you information on that presentation that we're going to be giving. So make sure to get one of those. I think that's all for today.
Okay, awesome. We'll see you there and have a super day.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye for now.
See ya.